Alright guys, we're back with another waiver wire video so I can help you find the best and most important players to add to your teams. And we have some more big prospect promotions, some red hot pitchers who I think can help you, some other lower key breakout players. But first, before we get into all of it, if you guys are not already, please subscribe to the channel, drop this video a like, sound off in the comments, and remember, channel memberships are open if you guys want personalized advice for your fantasy teams as we get through the final stretch and hopefully the playoffs. And a special shout out to Prize Picks for sponsoring today's video. Little spiel first as always too, if you guys are new here, this waiver wire video is a weekly segment during the regular season at least, probably gonna do this for a few more weeks. I always start out with 5 deep dense player profiles on just the 5 guys I want to highlight the most that you need to know about for the next week, plus a bunch of breakout sections at the end to help you in any type of league you might be in, like a category for shallow leagues, for deep leagues, for closers if you guys need saves, players to stash. We have a lot of minor league guys in there this week, and then also players to drop at the end. But all right, the first player on the big list this week, huge prospect promotion, outfielder on the Cardinals, Joshua Baez. Must add player if you need a bat right now in your leagues. Must add player. I do not say that lightly. Insane light tower power, unbelievable speed. He could be one of the most important players during the end of season waiver wire period in all of our leagues. Also, it's just so funny they waited until the day after the rookie eligibility deadline so Baez wouldn't accrue 45 days on the active roster and still be a rookie next season. So if he wins Rookie of the Year next season, he can get the Cardinals a PPI pick. And again, very disciplined move by them in the playoff race. Well, disciplined, some people will call it stupid. In a playoff race to not call up a player who could have been impact bat for them for the last 3 months, but absolutely nothing numbers at AAA like you guys see above my head. 34 home runs and 21 stolen bases in 100 games tells you all you need to know again about the power speed threat he can be. Also just turned 23 years old like a month and a half ago, so still very solid H level production there. Also want to highlight last year he had a lot more speed, stole 54 bases across almost 120 games, split between high A and double A. So this is a player where if things go perfectly right, could go like 10-10 the rest of the year. 10 home runs, 10 stolen bases. And I'm going to show you guys his prospect savant page right now. Swing and miss is absolutely going to be a concern for Baez as you guys see that high strikeout rate, low walk rate, high chase rate, high whiff rate, high swing strike rate, and very low zone contact rate. Not a lot right there, but luckily his entire profile, not luckily, of course, his entire profile is saved by absolute gargantuan power. 115 mile per hour max exit velocity, high concentration of other high exit velocities. The batted ball quality is insane. There's no doubt the raw power is legit and coming to the majors with him. He's the definition of a lightning in a bottle player where I could see Joshua Baez striking out 40% of the time, being a non-factor within the first few weeks. I could also see him catching crazy fire and again, hitting like 10 home runs and stealing 10 bases over the last month of the season. Anything is in play for him right now. And these are the kinds of players we want to be prioritizing this time of year, whether or not we want to add a possible star caliber player onto our rosters before we get into our playoff matchups, or if we have a lot of ground to make up in certain rotisserie categories and need to see if we can do a lot quickly. I'm going to have another video in a few days on more lightning in a bottle type players. These kind of guys like Baez who are big boomer bust, but it's always worth rostering this time of year just to try and get that boom. Now, before we get to the next player, a quick word from today's sponsor. Prize Picks, America's #1 sports picks app, and they have an incredible brand new offer I can't wait to share with you guys. Use my code HMA when you sign up for the Prize Picks app to get $150 worth of lineups when you play and win your first $5 lineup. Just download the Prize Picks app using the link in my description and make sure you sign up with the promo code HMA. And if you guys are not on Prize Picks yet, here's why you should be. First up, the app is super easy to use. You just pick more or less on a few player stats, lock your lineup, and that's it, you're in. Or maybe you'd rather just pick teams, because Prize Picks has that now too. Just pick the winner, spread, or total on any game or fight. And I'm making baseball lineups all the time. I'm rolling with this one on Saturday. Sean Manaea and Jesus Luzardo strikeouts. And remember guys, Prize Picks is available in most states, Florida, Texas, California, New York. So again, it's time to lock in and win that first lineup, because you sign up with the promo code HMA, you can get $150 worth of lineups just for playing and winning your first $5 lineup. Click the link in my description, sign up with the promo code HMA, and play and win that first $5 lineup. But remember guys, only do so if you know you can do it responsibly. All right, next up on the big list, Jackson Jobe, starting pitcher on the Tigers. Former top prospect, came up last year, was kind of iffy in his first few starts in the major leagues, then had to get Tommy John surgery, has been out 14 months since then. Came back finally last Saturday, was electric in his debut. 5 innings, 4 strikeouts, 1 hit, 1 walk, no runs against the Giants. Worked up to 71 pitches, so we're still trying to get that full workload, but was really, really amazing, especially to see Jobe miss bats in the zone. And Jobe does have another start Friday night, recording this video Friday afternoon, so here's me telling you guys about that. All right, Jackson Jobe got rocked on Friday night. 6 earned in 3 2/3 innings. Fastball got blitzed for like 6 hard hit balls and a couple homers. Bad start, but still some reasons for optimism, which I'm going to tell you guys about right now. But when Job debuted last year, and even when he was in the upper minors before that, he just didn't miss bats at the same level that either his prospect pedigree or the caliber of his stuff would have indicated he should have. In the major leagues last year, his fastball only had a 14% whiff rate, and his slider only had a 26% whiff rate. Those are both below average for those individual offerings. And he only threw 9 innings in AAA, but we have advanced data over there, and both of those pitches missed bats at less than a 20% clip, again, against minor league hitters. His strikeout numbers through the upper minors also lagged. It just seemed like something was kind of off here, why he wasn't missing bats. But when a pitcher gets Tommy John surgery or any major arm surgery, it's a very unique opportunity for them to alter, but more so optimize their mechanics. When you're throwing so often, your arm gets kind of stuck in the same groove. We throw every single day, or not every single day, most days, sometimes high volume throwing like for starting pitchers. It's hard to really change your arm angle why that's happening without risking injury and disrupting your kinetic chain. But when you have a total reset and you don't throw for months on end, like will happen when you have Tommy John surgery, you have the chance to reset those mechanics. And a lot of guys, I think Job mentioned this specifically. I heard Eno Saris mention this in the Rates and Barrels podcast last week. To when you come back, you're not just striving to get your mechanics exactly back to where they were, you're striving to improve them, to better optimize them, to put yourself in a better opportunity to be a better pitcher when you return. And it seems like Job has gone out of his way to do that. He dropped his arm slot by a few degrees between last season and this season, and a few of his pitches had slightly different shapes across the board. His fastball had a little bit less lift in terms of a raw number, but a little bit more when you account for the low release point. His sinker had a bit more sink to it. He only threw a handful of curveballs, but they had more depth to them. Also, he was throwing harder across the board in that season debut. I can't stress that enough. Basically, every single pitch, especially his fastball, was up by a little bit over 2 ticks. Maybe that was the adrenaline. Maybe that was just him knowing he could air it out, only maxing out 70 pitches. But these are potentially huge updates for Job. And again, in that start, he was missing more bats than he did in the sample last year. I'm trying to temper my expectations and not get too excited. Good thing I said that because, again, Friday was ugly. But I can definitely see him being something like a top 50 pitcher for the rest of the season, especially as his command potentially improves as he gets further away from the surgery. So I'm picking him up everywhere I possibly can. Next up, another pitcher at a very different point in their career, Sean Manaea from the Mets. He's actually back. I can say that with supreme confidence. If you guys watch my top 100 starting pitcher rankings from a few days ago, you would have noticed Manaea sneaking close to the top 50. That's unbelievable because in April, I was wondering if the Mets were going to have to cut this guy and eat the remaining 2 years of his contract. He looked that bad. He could barely throw 90 miles per hour, but he supremely flipped the script over the last few months. Here's a chart of his average fastball velocity since the start of the season per outing. You guys can see a nice upward trend there. I also should note here that he did not complete 5 innings in an appearance since June 1st. So the fact that he's still rising as he's going deeper into games, he's much stronger right now. But this trend looks even more stark when I have his average fastball velocity per month. That thing is a straight up arrow right now. And again, I have to reiterate, he didn't complete 5 innings in an outing until June 1st. He's a completely different pitcher right now than he was when the season began. And there was a lot of made about his rehab this offseason from bone chips, how his handle with the Mets, when his ramp up began, how hard he was going early on. Whatever happened there, right now, he's a very good starting pitcher. Since June 1st, he has a 3.44 ERA, 1.17 whip, 23% strikeout rate, and 7% walk rate. That strikeout minus walk rate, around 16%, is top 30 in the league, next to guys like Sonny Gray and Parker Messick, who we're trusting in our lineups week in and week out. And while that's all happened, Sean Manaea has averaged 92 miles per hour with his fastball. And in his last few starts, he's getting closer to 93 with an average and touching 94 and 95 with regularity. Again, this is a guy that could barely touch 90 in April. And he's still doing so with elite extension from the left side and a really odd, funky crossbody release that makes it a very difficult at-bat for opposing hitters. His sinker is mixing in really well against left-handed batters. His sweeper is nasty right now. Again, Sean Manaea to me right now is a top 50 pitcher for the rest of the season, and he's available on so many waiver wires right now. Next up on the big list is Abimelec Ortiz, first baseman from the Nationals, recently called up to take the first base job after Luis Garcia was shipped out to the Yankees at the trade deadline, and he's just become the latest in many, many, many Washington Nationals player development success stories this season. In 11 games entering play on Friday, Ortiz has an 1,100 OPS and 4 home runs in 11 games played. The guy is ripping the cover off the ball, and the Nationals are showing their immense trust in his skills and his bat because he's hitting second in their lineup against right-handed pitchers. Moreover, I was shocked by Ortiz's incredible underlying metrics as I was looking into him making this video. He has better than a 76 mile per hour average bat speed. That's top 20 among all players in the league who've taken at least 50 swings this season around guys like Julio Rodriguez, Yordan Alvarez, Fernando Tatis, and Vladimir Guerrero Jr. And that also comes with Ortiz having a relatively short swing of 7.4 feet when the league average is 7.3 feet. Mostly when guys generate that big of bat speed to swing a longer bat, it makes them more prone to swing and miss. Ortiz has not had that problem. And again, I'm going to show you guys his prospects of on page right now. Looking at his AAA data from this year, it supports all of this. 116 mile per hour max exit velocity with a very high concentration of other high exit velocities. Shockingly good contact rates given that immense raw power. And again, I think that's partially because of the nice short swing he has with that crazy high bat speed, while he's able to pull balls in the air and while he's able to make really good swing decisions and take his walks. Also, if we look back at his prospects avant page from last year when he was in the Rangers organization, it's more of the same. I don't know why he didn't get a shot for them last year. I don't know why they used him as a throw-in trade in this Mackenzie Gore deal that's now reaping some major rewards for the Nationals. He absolutely looks like a piece. He's not starting against left-handed pitchers. That's the one flaw right now. But I see no reason why Abby Ortiz is not going to produce for the rest of the season. He could be an amazing replacement if you guys have Nick Kurtz on your roster, because it was just announced this week he's going to be out for the season, which is sad, but again, grab Ortiz if you need some help there. Last up on the big list this week is Tyler Mahle, newly acquired starting pitcher for the Atlanta Braves. And so far, this is just a clear example of the Atlanta Braves working their voodoo magic once again. Well, I mean, not really, but Mahle has been amazing in 2 starts since coming over from the Giants. 12 innings, 16 strikeouts, 2 walks, 7 hits, 1 earned run. That's an amazing 2 outings and one that should put him on all of our radars. Oftentimes when players get traded midseason like this, we want to look for broad, sweeping changes that a team could have just given to a player, and Jeremy Hefner is a great pitching coach on the Braves, said, tweak this one thing, it'll be very obvious for us to see. And what we're seeing right now with Tyler Mahle is that in the last 2 starts, his first 2 with the Braves, he's thrown his highest rate of splitters in each of those starts since his first game of the season. So boom, right there, the Braves are saying, lean more on your splitter. But I think a big reason he's been able to lean more on his splitter is because he's had absolutely diabolically good command of both that pitch and his fastball over these 2 games. Like, take a look at these pitch charts here from his last start against the Mets. This first one's against right-handed batters. The way he's nailing that low and outside corner, he couldn't have walked the ball into the catcher's glove in a better spot than he was nailing those fastballs with splitters diving off that. And then again, if you look at what he was doing against lefties, great fastballs at the leathers, splitters diving down below that. When a pitcher's commanding the ball like this, they're going to find success no matter what. Now, of course, I don't think Mahle is as good as he's been in these 2 starts, but he's definitely a solid pitcher and someone who I'm really excited to get on my roster for the stretch run. Now, that's the end of the big list this week, but like I told you guys at the top, lots of big breakout sections now to help you in any league you might play in, starting out with players who are not rostered enough in shallow leagues. I'm using ESPN roster rate for this, and I'm really shocked that Freddie Peralta, even after the horrible season he's had, is still only 71% rostered. We've already seen some nice changes the Rays have tried to help him with since coming over from the Mets at the trade deadline. His extension's a bit longer. He's throwing way more changeups, which has been his most reliable secondary pitch this year. I think he's another great lightning in a bottle option as we move towards the end of the season. Trevor Rogers, 49%, has been very solid for months now. Caleb Durbin, 46%, has torn the cover off the ball again for months now. Cade Cavalli, 43%. Big flag here. What are we doing, guys? Cade Cavalli is coming off the best start of his entire career on Thursday against the Cubs. 10 strikeouts, 8 shutout innings, took a no-hitter into the 7th. To me, he's been a borderline top 30 pitcher on the season this year. He's top 20 in ERA. He's top 20 in strikeout rate. Still has a high whip, but he's pitching relatively deeply into games. He's striking tons of guys out. He's seemingly getting better as the season's gone on. Cade Cavalli, even in the shallowest of leagues, should be on every single roster right now. Another guy who I'm watching closely at the moment, Eugenio Suarez. Talk about lightning in a bottle player. Very quietly getting hot. Eugenio Suarez might have a crazy legendary run in him for the final 6 weeks of the season. Royce Lewis, 26%. For a guy that's eligible at first base, second base, and third base in most of our leagues, and has an 800 OPS for the last 2.5 months, he has to be on more rosters right now. He just has to be. He's been too productive a player with power and speed. Then Zach Geloff, off the injured list this week for the Athletics, also eligible everywhere, hitting in a primary spot in that lineup in one of the best hitters parks in all of baseball. Dustin May, 19%. It feels like the Brewers are just actively fixing him. He's going to be nice for the rest of the season. Lawrence Butler, also sneaky, back to being an everyday player on the Athletics. Can give a lot of power and speed. We've seen him get really hot in a moment's notice before. Griffin Conine, 9%. As of Wednesday night, Griffin Conine had the 3rd highest OPS in baseball for any players with at least 150 plate appearances. It was Yordan Alvarez, it was Juan Soto, and it was Griffin Conine. This guy's now playing first base against every right-handed pitcher with Kyle Stowers on the injured list. He has to be in our lineups more so. Even in shallow leagues, Griffin Conine's a factor. Same goes for Jacob Lopez. I am scared of that ballpark, but when Jacob Lopez is right, and he's right now, he's a lefty with a deep pitch mix and sensational command. Those guys never go out of style. Next up, we have the closer report to help you guys if you're seeking saves. First up, there's a disaster brewing right now in Los Angeles. Edwin Diaz has blown 3 out of 4 save chances. The one save he did get, he gave up a run and tons of hard hit balls. Dave Roberts has already hinted at the fact that Diaz may not get the save opportunity. If that's the case, Tanner Scott likely goes back into that role where he was elite for most of the season. I need Tanner Scott on my roster right now if I'm looking for saves because I don't know what's good with Edwin Diaz. Then Daniel Palencia on the mend right now, coming back for the Cubs soon. But until he's back, Jacob Webb is still the closer there. So keep rolling with Jacob Webb if you need saves. Also, Yuendrys Gomez is still the closer with the Twins. We thought it could be Jeff Hoffman after the trade deadline. Didn't happen. Gomez still saving games for them. Andrew Kittredge right now is the closer in Baltimore. Getting some tiny hints that Felix Bautista and Ryan Helsley could be on the men soon, but Kittredge looks like he still has a nice runway as a closer there. Devin Williams on the injured list. He got some shoulder fatigue or whatever. Who knows if he comes back the rest of the season. The Mets are very, very clearly tanking. Kode Senga got a save for them this week. It looks like he's the closer moving forward, and I kind of love his stuff in the ninth inning role. Luke Weaver, I still think will be the closer on the Pirates, but I don't even think they've had a single save opportunity since the trade deadline, so we're still waiting on that. And then looking at the Angels bullpen right now, Ben Joyce, recently off the injured list, throws 103 miles per hour, got a save this week, but it seems like he is sharing that role with Sammy Natera Jr., who also has nice stuff and has had some success in ninth inning. Another team who generates very, very few save opportunities, but if you're desperate for saves, Joyce and Natera are decent options. Now we have the stash list. It's a fat stash list this week because like I told you guys when talking about Joshua Baez, on Friday was the first day that teams could call up players and have them maintain the rookie eligibility for 2027. That's really, really valuable right now because if a player wins Rookie of the Year or places in the top 3 for the MVP or Cy Young, if they picked up a full year of service time as a rookie and still have not reached arbitration, teams get compensation from draft picks. That's so incredibly valuable. So teams have been really gaming the system. Have started out with the big one, Cade Anderson. He might have already been promoted by the time this video gets to you guys. When he comes up, just like I said in the top 100 pitcher update, he's a borderline top 30 pitcher in the whole show. He's been that good at AA. The stuff is that nasty. Can't leave Cade Anderson on your waiver wire for a second longer. Charlie Condon also likes to get a shot for the Rockies. I threw in Emmanuel Rodriguez and Walker Jenkins here, even though I don't necessarily think the Twins are going to give him a shot. There's still a chance. I do think there's actually a chance. This is more so for deeper leagues, 2-catcher leagues, that Ethan Salas gets a chance to be the catcher for the Padres, which is insane because I think he's still 20 years old, but he's actually been hitting really well in AAA, and that Padres lineup is rolling right now. 2 Mets starting pitchers who I think do get looks before the end of the season, Jack Wenninger and Jonah Tong. Tong, for a while, has been known as the better prospect, but he's been dreadful this year, and I don't really know how effective he's going to be in the major leagues yet. Where Wenninger actually feels like he's turned a corner lately, he's found a bit more velocity, he has a deeper pitch mix, he has 2 different fastballs he can rely on, he has a nasty splitter that will be effective against hitters from each side of the plate, and he has a competent slider and curveball. I can see Wenninger finding some short-term success in a late-season stint with the Mets this season. And then 2 other lesser talked-about prospects. Lazaro Montes is ripping the cover off the ball for the Mariners, and they need all the help they can get. And also Seaver King. Late breaking news right before I started this recording. C.J. Abrams is going to start to play more second base as we close the season. I don't know what the Nationals have been waiting for that. I think they were hoping to still trade Abrams as a shortstop at the deadline. No teams view them as a shortstop, so now they're going to use him as a second baseman, and he's still going to be an elite hitter. That opens the door for Seaver King, who's hit really well in AAA this year, to possibly get some reps at shortstop for the Nationals through the end of the season. More of a deep league play, more if you're looking for speed, but he can be a factor. And 3 injured pitchers who are coming back within the next few weeks: Carlos Rodon, Shane McClanahan, Tyler Glasnow. Don't forget about them if someone's sleeping and they're on your waiver wire. Now we have the deep league ads. A fat deep league list this week. First up, Esteury Ruiz. He's a priority ad for you guys right now if you play in any kind of categories league and you need stolen bases. He's stolen almost 30 in like 160 plate appearances this year. He's going to run wild the rest of the season. And he has a huge runway for playing time with Kyle Stowers now on the injured list. Same goes for Owen Casey and Heriberto Hernandez, who are back to being something close to full-time everyday players again with Stowers out of the picture. I think all 3 of these guys can contribute in deep leagues moving forward. Then we have Zach Veen. A bit controversial to put him in the deep league list rather than the big list, but it seems like the Rockies have to do a lot of lineup shuffling to get him in the lineup. Like his first game earlier this week, when he did hit a home run, and I will say that, give Veen the credit there, they had to move Cole Carrick to shortstop, which Carrick's on this list too. And I like that Carrick's going to pick up some more eligibility, but in that game, they took Veen out in the 6th inning to switch up their defensive alignment, bring Tovar back in as shortstop, and move Carrick back to the outfield. I like Veen's talent. I love the power and speed. I love the story about him getting sober and rediscovering his talents. But I just really don't know if he gets enough regular playing time to be more interesting in anything but deep leagues the rest of the season. One guy, this is the number 1 guy on the word cloud for this channel this season, Cam Smith. Cam Smith. Cam Smith. Of course, going to be talking about Cam Smith more in the Lightning in the Bottle video this week, but he's starting to lift the ball. He's starting to get hot. I think those days off in late July helped him clear his head. Of course, I'm always going to advocate for you guys stashing Cam Smith on your bench. Kaylor Montero has still been a very reliable back-end guy for the Tigers. He limits runs without getting strikeouts. Bubba Chandler's throwing a new, harder slider. I'm still getting myself in on Bubba Chandler. I think he's valuable in deep leagues. Kyle Leahy on the Cardinals has been an absolute heater. He doesn't miss tons of bats, so I don't really trust him a ton, but I do like what he's been doing lately, especially for the right matchups. Hayden Wesneski also looking decent with the Astros. Blade Tidwell coming up and going slider, 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 looking decent so far with the Giants, but curious about how that command winds up with such a slider-heavy repertoire. Andrew Vaughn just played third base for the Brewers with Cooper Pratt in the injured list and Bryce Terang injured as David Hamilton, Joey Ortiz moved to the middle infield. That's super interesting to me just because I like Vaughn's bat in the lineup. I like the Brewers looking for more pop. And for a guy that doesn't play every single day, this is a nice way to generate more fantasy value. Augustine Ramirez and Mo Ballesteros also interesting if you guys need help at catcher. Again, with Stowers' injury, Ramirez has been siphoning off some DH reps for the Marlins, and he has a really good bat, and he can run the bases, but he just can't play catcher at all. So again, nice to see his back end and otherwise. And Mo Ballesteros, like I told you guys last week, just got catcher eligibility for the Angels. Another guy who could really catch lightning in a bottle. Then we have another catcher eligible player, but he also mixes in at first base, Eduardo Valencia, doing a lot more DHing right now for the Tigers, but ripping the cover off the ball. Then Jared Young and Andres Chaparro. I've already mentioned Abimelo Cortez and Royce Lewis if you guys need help at first base. These are the two guys that can help you at first base in deeper leagues. Jared Young is productive, albeit not special, and plays in a strong side platoon. Chaparro rips the cover off the ball, but only right now starts against left-handed pitchers. So again, much deeper league play. Then two more deep league pitchers. Jackson Kent, called up by the Nationals, interesting lefty from their minor leagues. And Hunter Dobbins with the Cardinals. Got a new cut fastball. It's effective against lefties. I like the deep repertoire there. Now I've given you guys so many players to add. I have to give you some to drop. I mentioned Nick Kurtz officially out for the season per manager Marcotte. That said, Davis Martin, if you guys were still hanging on for him, I've advocated dropping him for weeks, if not months now. He's on the injured list. Just don't even think about it. Griffin Jack's going to a second opinion for an arm injury. Never a good sign. We didn't like the first opinion, need the second one. Cooper Pratt in the injured list. Get rid of him. Luis Lara, I told you guys when he was coming up, I didn't really love the bat that much. I didn't think he'd be a factor, and I didn't think he'd play every day. Sadly, all those have come true, so if you've been hanging out waiting for Lara, drop him. Then Cody Clemens has basically forgot how to hit over the last few weeks, and Justin Robleski has a big start against the Brewers this weekend, but he's been trending in the wrong direction. I could see you dropping in the 10-team league. I'd probably still hang on to him, but if you're desperate for a drop and you're looking at your pitching staff right now and he's the bottom guy, don't be super afraid to drop him. But another great waiver wire video in the books. Thank you guys so much for letting this video series be a big foundation of the channel all year. I'm going to keep hammering fantasy baseball over the next few weeks to help you guys as you enter the playoffs. But once we get to September, I'm going to be a bit more creative on this channel, have some fun ideas. If you guys have any fun ideas for videos you want me to make, let me know down there in the comments. But thank you so much. See you next time.